Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 10 of the Dads on the Rocks podcast. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Today's guest is one of the absolute best people that I know, a man who I really do admire immensely as a father, somebody who I saw being a dad, and I said, that's the kind of dad that I want to be. My guest today, Lord Torrell Smith. Torrell, say hi to everybody.
Hello. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure.
It is absolutely my pleasure, I assure you. As always, Torrell, we begin with a toast. My Lord, what are you drinking today?
Oh, well, of course, the Lord always drinks to his son, Jameson. And therefore, I'm drinking Jameson on the rocks.
Very, very nice. I actually almost bought Jameson specifically for tonight, but I couldn't make it to the store.
No worries. I always have a bottle in the house somewhere.
Myself, today I am drinking, I'm going a little different. Normally I'm a bourbon guy, but I've been dabbling in vodka lately, and I'm having what I call is a lazy, dirty martini. It's vodka and olive juice. And it's lazy because I'm too lazy to put it in the dry vermouth.
I like that. A lazy, dirty martini.
But it's pretty good, and it's nice to branch out from the norm. So to you, my Lord, cheers to you, sir.
To you, sir.
Now, our guests are probably our listeners are probably wondering, why the hell am I calling you Lord? So I would like you to explain to everybody what happened there and why I'm referring to you in that way.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, as a Lord, it just so happened that on my 41st birthday, my wife gifted me with the ability to be a Lord. She purchased some land in England, and she had a oil painting done. So I have gotten certified, and officially I'm a certified Lord of England.
That's amazing. What props to your lovely, fantastic wife, Jessica. When I saw that, I was so damn jealous because that was the coolest thing I had seen in a long time.
It was amazing.
Is that the requirement of being a Lord, is owning land in England?
Yes. So from what my wife tells me, so you have to own a certain amount of land in England to be considered a Lord. And she purchased some land in England. Therefore, I have a 1 by 1 foot square piece of land somewhere out there in England, which allows me to have certification for that. I can have my passport, driver's license, say that I'm a Lord.
I hope you do, because that would be the first thing I would change everything to signify that I'm a Lord. And Stephanie, if you're listening to this, I don't think you listen to the show, but if you do, I want my plot right next to Torrell's so we can stand on each of our plots and hug.
Yes, I love it. One step in, one step out.
A couple of announcements today is September 1st. If you're listening to this on the day that it's released, I'm doing things a little bit differently. In the past, I've done the September Beer Challenge, a thing that I started and created. I think this is the 7th year that I've done it, but I'm now going to be doing it solely on the Instagram of the Dads on the Rocks Instagram page. Check in every day for what I'm drinking every day. Basically, if you don't know, I drink a different beer that I've never had before, which, if you know me, is very difficult, every day of the month for September. And little preview, I'm going to be trying something for October, which is called Sober October, where I drink nothing for the entire month of October. I like my alcohol, so that's going to be really tough for me. But after September Beer Challenge, I think it's going to be welcome. If you're interested in a shirt, which I do have now, they're $15 with the tagline on the back. And if you haven't seen before, the tagline is a podcast for surviving parenthood served with a twist, which I'm very, very pleased with myself. So if you're interested, get with me and I'll get you taken care of. I did explore the idea of selling koozies, but for now it doesn't really make sense. So the only way that you can get one is by being a guest on the show. So Torrell, you are going to get your very own Dads on the Rocks koozie. They'll be in shortly. I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to send them out to my guests that have previously been on the show. So if you're interested in being a guest on the show, let me know and we'll have you on.
Cheers, sir. Thank you.
Cheers to you, sir. So I want to get right into the show. For tonight's topic, what I actually picked the topic for tonight because one of the things that I really do love about you, Torrell, is all the different things that I see you doing with your kids, the fun experiences and places that you guys take the kids. If you don't know, actually, Terrell, I'll let you take this. Of how many kids you have and how long you've been married, and all that stuff. Go for it.
Okay. I have two kids. The father of Geneva, who's 7, and Jameson, who's 5. And I've been married to my lovely wife now for 9 years. And it's just been a great experience. It's been a blessing. I really can't complain about it.
That is like the tiniest little bit of information to give people, but the father that I see, I really, really do mean it. When I saw you being a dad, because you became a dad before I did, the things that I saw you doing with your kids, and even today, the experiences that you share with them, the places that you guys take them, it made me want to be a dad as even more so than before. It just, I saw the love and connection that you had with your kids, and it was really something to be admired. So you were honestly, you were a very big inspiration for me as far as parenting goes. So
Thank you.
Honestly, thank you. That you
Thank you.
you did do a lot for my sense of wanting to procreate. So to you, my lord, cheers.
Oh, to you and your offspring. Thank you, sir.
But like I said, I saw you doing a lot of really, you and Jessica doing a lot of amazing things, amazing experiences of taking the kids places and having them experience things. They're a little bit older than my kids, so I think they can remember it and appreciate it a little bit more, which I'm very much so looking forward to. My kids are older. How do you find the time after work and taking care of the house and things like that, and just the energy? Because I feel like maybe it's different because I have two very small ones, and it's a little bit harder now. And once they're older, I feel like I may get more energy and more pep. But how do you find the energy to do these things and have these experiences with the kids?
Oh, lots of coffee, lots and lots of coffee. Um, Kids are great, but they expect a lot from you, and I expect a lot from them. Like, they're my entertainment, they're my fun, they're my heart. I love them so much. So when I come home, I kind of pregame it. My wife, Jessica, who's my rock, she without her, I couldn't do anything. Because I have her supporting me, guiding me through everything, like, she fills in the blanks. So usually when I come home, she has like a coffee ready for me so that I can muster up that energy to move forward. And so, yeah, she's pretty much the reason how I have the energy and the focus to be with them, more so once I get off from work, because usually half the times I'm dead tired.
Yeah. Are you on midnights or are you working days?
I'm days now, but I'm 5 days a week, and then you're on call. So it's much better for me now, because beforehand, a lot of times I was working night shifts and doing those 12-hour days, and sometimes I was doing like 60 hours a week sometimes.
Ouch.
So just finding that energy, but looking into their faces and them wanting to play with you and them wanting to roughhouse and beat you up, it just gives you that energy. You're just like, okay, here we go. I'll find it. So, yeah.
Something that I'm dealing with now. My son is full on crawling now.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah. So I find it difficult to, number one, watch him, make sure that he's not putting anything in his mouth and choking, while also being there with my daughter. And she is now at the age, she's approaching 4, and she says, "Daddy, do you want to play with me?" And I've just put the dishes away. I made the coffee for tomorrow. I put a load of laundry in, and I want to sit down for like 3 minutes. And she says, "Daddy, do you want to play with me?" And I absolutely want to. All I want to do is just sit there with her and enjoy and play and be there for her. But sometimes I can't. And I try and say, I would love to, baby, but can you move it over here to the couch? Because daddy just needs to sit for a minute. I do want to play with you. And that's not what she wants to hear. She wants me to get up and play hide and seek or whatever. So I find it hard to stretch myself so thin when they demand so much of you and you have only so much to give.
Yeah, that part's tough. I mean, it's a constant challenge, and there's really there's no right or wrong way to do it. I mean, you just have to work with what you got. And the kids, they're going to keep asking so much of you. And the good thing for me was that when we had Jameson, he was born 2 years after Geneva. Geneva was very close to her mom, but she was a little bit closer to me to begin with. So then when Jameson kind of came into the picture, everyone kind of, flocked towards a newborn baby. And for me, it was that opportunity for me and Geneva to bond even more so.
Right.
Because everyone was flocking to Jameson. He's a new baby. Everyone wants to get on top of him. But yeah, once he started crawling, it was more of a balance. And it was me and Jessica now doing man-on-man coverage. We had to switch things up. You couldn't just, leave him in his car seat and let him hang out there for a while. He's ready to start moving and playing and doing everything. So you just had to work together through it. I mean, it's a team sport.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's very much so a team effort. My only issue is that when you're there by yourself, like Stephanie has the kids 3 days in a row by herself. And she doesn't want to just sit in the house, and she wants to take them places, and she gets frustrated when it's very difficult. Not to mention just leaving the house to go to the car and then the car to go to wherever you're going. You sweat because it's incredibly hot outside. Mm-hmm. And then going somewhere to try and keep them entertained and do fun things, and also keeping the baby on his schedule if he wants to sleep all night. It's tough to do it all by yourself. And I have the kids 2 days a week myself all day long. And it's tough to do by yourself. And by the way, single parents out there, I have no idea how you do it, especially with more than one.
That's the truth.
Which is why I have finished my second vodka. No, I've seen you guys take them to different things, the pumpkin patch, museums, and zoo, and it's really inspiring that you guys find so much time to be with them. And I have been exhausted, and I've thought I can do this too. Like I've thought that I see how much you guys have done with your kids, and I think maybe I should try new experiences for them. Andrew's not going to remember any of this; he's too young. But Allie, this is when I start. My memories start is like right around 3-4 years old is when I have my first memories. So I want to make them good for her.
With this whole thing, I mean, Jessica is my everything, man. She plans so much, and she has a lot of things lined up for us. And I just know that these are those moments. Cause I remember when my dad, something I can never forget. My dad used to take us to like the air shows all the time. Mm-hmm. They used to be up in Opelika Airport. And for the longest time, we would always go in the day before the Blue Angels came into the airport, and we would sit there. We would watch the helicopters and the jets and everything go by. And then the next day, he would take us back out there onto the actual airport. And we get to sit in the jets, meet the pilots and everything like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I know it was great. And I know that I was enjoying everything. And those memories I will never forget. But I know my dad, now as an adult, my dad had to get off of work, pick us up, and then rush over to the airport at like 6 p.m. after he'd been at work all day. And I know he was dead tired, but then he hung out there with us, and he just found the energy to do it. And for me, it's like, these memories are what's going to be the most important to them. I know it maybe just take a little bit more time away from myself, but I know that they're going to appreciate it as they get older. And for me, I always sit there, I think back of the things that I did with my dad. Those things stand out so much to me. Like I can tell you any type of jet there is just because my dad used to always take us to the air show. So from the F-14 Tomcat to the F-16 Eagle, it's because of him and his love. And that just what I want my kids to have. Hopefully it happens in the Marvel universe. I can't make any promises. Marvel or Star Wars. I hope this is what happens, but I don't know. Right now, my son's Jameson's really into Venom, and I'm so happy. So happy. Oh, he has no idea. I had like every symbiote bought in my man cave for him to give to him. So as he's going through school now, he keeps getting these little gifts slowly but surely. So yeah, I love it. I love it right now.
Does he specifically like Venom, or is he like also into Spider-Man too?
So Spider-Man is backseat. It's Venom. So the weird thing is, he went through this weird phase where he was into Bendy. I don't know if you know what Bendy is. No. He's the ink demon. So Bendy is based off of like Mickey Mouse, gone bad. and like what happens when Mickey Mouse was left alone for long periods of time and he became bad. And so the ink machine took over and he's like this weird character. So a lot of the ink demons look like Venom.
Huh.
And
wait, is this from the video game Epic Mickey?
No, it's not Epic Mickey. It's
Okay.
it's the character specifically Bendy and the Ink Machine.
This sounds like I want to watch it.
It is. It's pretty interesting. It's a little scary at times because I was like, is my son taking the wrong track? Is he going demonic and stuff like that? But he's not. It's okay. But yeah, he went in that path, and so of course, you know, I'm a huge Marvel fan, Star Wars, everything, and of all the characters, he started to flock to Venom, and then eventually it just took off. He loves Venom and all the symbiotes.
Wow. Have you showed him I wouldn't say it's classic, but to me it's classic, the like mid 90s Spider-Man show? Because I'm currently like rewatching the classic Spider-Man show because like the Tom Holland Spider-Mans and the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they're not on Disney Plus, so I'm getting my Spider-Man fix anywhere I can. So I'm rewatching the like mid 90s Spider-Man show that I grew up with, and it still holds up, to be honest. And there was like I think a 2-part Venom in like season 1. Like they introduced like, I don't know, like 9 villains in the first season. It was amazing.
I remember it well. It was so good. So good. But no, he's not there yet. His love isn't for Spider-Man so much. It's more so just for Venom. And I'm going to foster that little plant until it blossoms into Marvel everything.
Oh my! And you know what? I kind of like that he's into a villain first, because that will kind of make him appreciate the conflict between hero and villain. Like every villain, they think that they're the hero. They actually, any good hero villain conflict, it's the villain thinks that they're in the right, like exactly like Thanos. Like he and the way that they did it right, especially with Thanos, was you also like sympathize with him because it's not a bad idea. You can see where he's coming from. And I kind of dig that with Eddie Brock, Venom too, because he's been slighted in so many different ways, especially by Peter Parker in a couple different ways. And he's down on his luck, and he's finally gets this opportunity to do something, to be stronger and to be better. Why not take it? You know?
Exactly.
So yes. I like that.
Yes, I love it. And of course, Thanos is my favorite villain of all time. His connection to me is so important. Geneva, my daughter, is like that father-daughter relationship. So Thanos' relationship and love with Gamora is like, it's my kid. So when he does everything for her, it melts my heart. So for me, I have that connection to Thanos. It's just like, it's so there. And it always brings me back to my daughter when I think about his love for his daughter and sacrifice that he was willing to do for her. And unfortunately, he ends up killing her. I could never do that. But
that broke me so hard when I watched Endgame for the first time. Infinity War. Sorry. When I watched Infinity War, and I could see it, even though it was CGI, and I could tell they were mimicking Josh Brolin's like facial characteristics in that scene. But it broke me so hard because I saw how much pain he was going through and the sacrifice of the greater good it took. And I even I watched Guardians, the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and Thanos is in it briefly, and he refers to Gamora as his favorite daughter right there in front of Nebula, which was kind of messed up. But like even back then, like it planted the seed for that, and it broke my heart because I'm like, I don't have anything strong enough and any conviction strong enough to like throw Allie off of a cliff.
Oh God. Good. Oh God, there's nothing in this world. I couldn't think of anything that would ever make me cross the line. He's a mad titan, because there's no way I could ever do that. It's just too much love. There's too much love. I cry at every movie that has a father-daughter conflict. A movie really made me cry, like ugly cry? Coco.
Oh man.
Yes. When you realize it's his daughter, it was just tears so bad. I couldn't even hide it. I could hear all the sniffling inside the movie theater. I know there were plenty of dads in there.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, it was rough. It was rough. But
I think Stephanie was like 8 months pregnant when we went to go see that in the theater. I was flanked by Stephanie, who's super pregnant, and then on the other side is or next to her was her sister, and I think her mom might have been on the other side, and then next to me also was our friend Amy, and then John, I believe, and just the entire row needed Gatorade because we were so dehydrated from like all of us were just it was just waterworks at that very last scene with the Remember Me. It was brutal. It was
man.
But it was so good. Go watch Coco, everybody, if you haven't already. Coco is fantastic. It's bring tissues and go hydrated. That's kind of where I want to stop with the parenting topic, because as much as I like to talk about kids, another of my absolute favorite things about you, Torrell, is what I want to talk about for non-parenting topics, which is something that we do for ourselves when we're not being parents. And what I had in mind for you is playing Dungeons and Dragons. And before anybody else that's listening has any kind of like, oh, I don't want to listen to that, it's Dungeons and Dragons, like it's for nerds. No, fuck you. Number one, Dungeons and Dragons was I had the same idea a few years ago, pre-kids. My best friend Chris Jimenez, he said, let's play Dungeons and Dragons, and I said, that's a game for nerds, like in their basement, like why would I ever want to play that? And he said, trust me, you'll enjoy it. And I kid you not, it was some of the most fun I have ever had. And I'm going to let Torrell take it from here, because Torrell has been playing for a long time. Torrell, please let everybody know why it's the stigma is just silly.
Oh, people, you don't know what you're missing. Dungeons and Dragons it's an escape. So like a lot of people, they'll go out to the world and they'll watch sports, or they get themselves locked up in a specific show or a movie, or, you have your type of outlet that you can get on. For Dungeons and Dragons, it is an immersive outlet. It's the same thing like doing a video game, but the benefit of it is you bring your friends along for this journey, and these are your pals. These are your guys who you normally hang with, or girls, and you immerse yourselves inside this world, and you allow your characters to go wherever the world may take you. And it's an intellectual battle. It's quick-witted conversations. The DM's got to come up with things on the fly. It's just such a world-building experience. And it's something that every person doesn't realize, that movie directors and writers, it's what they do. They build these worlds. The Marvel MCU universe is a world building experience. And same thing like with was it not James Gunn, but James Gunn, even when they build these worlds and they take something out of nothing and create this envisionment, it's just so near and dear to my heart. My very first character at D&D when I started with my friends was this character named Celeste. And Celeste was a transgender character. It's a very risque character to go with, but it was an interesting way to go. And I went full in, and, you like to make the voices and create the character and create the ambiance. And every time I played the character, I made sure that my character held this specific type of role, that she covered her face with her veil all the time. And you bring that persona across, and you get your friends laughing, and they say things to make you laugh, and you just start having these good banters where you're going back and forth. It's such a good time.
For those of you that don't know, basically Dungeons and Dragons, you need a DM, which is a dungeon master. They're the one that controls the game. So they have their player's handbook, their monster manual, things like that, to begin with, at least. And everybody else, they make their own character. So like Torrell's first character was Celeste. You can play different classes and races. You can be like Dragonborn or human. druid, elf, different things. You can build the character how you want it within reason, and your stats of like your attack damage, your defense damage, things like that. You roll for it. You roll. There's like 6 different dice.
Yeah, D20. You have a D10, a D8, D4, and a D6.
Okay. So you have the dice that you roll for to get your stats and everything, and that bases what your character can do as far as in a fight or what have you. Your charisma, for example. So you're in a fairy tale-ish village full of warlocks and fairies and goblins and things like that. You're in a village. The floor is made of dirt. The huts are made out of clay. I don't know. I'm doing this on the fly. I don't know. I'm not a DM, so I'm not very good at this. But you and your merry band of bastards are walking through the city, and somebody runs up to you and says, "Oh, you guys look like great fighters. I have been missing my daughter. She was abducted 3 weeks ago, and I haven't seen her since. Ever since this big fog enveloped our city." And you say, "Well, this is strange. I don't really know why I would want to help you." But your character that you built, you are a knight, and you say, "For the greater good, I would like to help this woman and save this girl's daughter." Say somebody else in the party is chaotic neutral, and you're like, I don't care, whatever. And this girl's, where's the nearest inn or something.
Yes.
But it's all about the adventure and the choices that you make and how much fun you can have with it. And I do have a story from my very first time playing Dungeons and Dragons that I don't think I will ever forget. A group of us, we were in a cave. We were looking for something. We had already killed like the big goblin headmaster, and then we were going through the rest of the cave, and we encountered a bunch of goblins that were sitting around a fire. And for some reason, we kept the head of the goblin master or whatever for that dungeon. So we took it out, we covered it in oil, and one of my friends who is a warlock, he levitated it over the fire pit for where they were cooking their dinner, and somebody else enchanted it to speak to the goblins, saying, "Oh, I am your goblin master. You need to leave the cave," so that we didn't have to fight them. And somebody rolled a 1 on a D20, and instead the head just fell to the floor into the fire, and it exploded. And the goblins did take damage, but they were also now attacking us.
See, that's the beauty of a good D&D game. You can have this great plan worked out, and then all of a sudden someone rolls a 1, which is a critical failure, and your entire plan just crumbles.
So you can have an entirely great plan. If you don't know, a D20 is a die, like in normal poker game, or not poker, but like dice games or whatever. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A D20 goes all the way from 1 to 20, and that will determine how good you do. 1 being the absolute worst. Like if you try to jump over a river and you roll a 1, you just burst into flames. And a D20 is that you jump over the river, do a handstand, and then you get the girl for, I don't, whatever. That's the best possible outcome. So, Torrell, what is your absolute favorite memory of playing D&D? Or not necessarily your favorite, but one that really stands out to you that made you realize, I love this game?
I had a character named Grub. He was a goblin. And my sole purpose in that game was to be the most annoying character to my friends as possible. So, as this character, and my wife's listening to this, she knows how bad these things get. So as this character, my goal was to annoy people. So we were in a dungeon style setting. So every so often the DM had to explain something to us. It's like, so such and such and such, we go to a keep, and at the keep, so my character, anytime he said keep, I would repeat keep. And so eventually every time he would say, "Oh, such and such, we're at the keep." And And so eventually it became a running joke. So like now my friends, they all will sit anytime someone says keep, they go keep. And so it just keeps repeating itself over and over and over. It was just like such a fun little stupid thing to do, but it makes me remember Grub always and forever.
How long have you been playing D&D to begin with, and then with this same group of guys? Because I know that you've not one running game, but you guys have had several running games with this one specific group, I believe.
Yes. So these are the friends who actually got me into D&D. I want to say it's been about maybe 15 years now.
Wow.
We've been friends for a while. What is it? 90, yeah, about 15 years. We've been every Tuesday we get together, have a good time, nerd it out a bit, and it's been fun. I mean, we switch the games up. We do different type of dungeon games. Currently right now we're doing a Transformers game, but it's always a constant rotation of things that we're doing. Different people take over as DM. Different stories come up. We just had prior to this, we had a group that was set in like Greece. My character was he's and my Joe, who is excellent DM. He is good at making voices, and he's got these great history things that he does. He searches so much research that he actually does, gets the actual gods and implements these stories into everything. So it's really, really such an immersive story. Like I had a character, Althor, which is kind of based off of the Wheel of Time character Rand Althor. But as I played the character, he eventually came more like the character Thor from the MCU universe.
Right.
So like he ended up fighting with the hammer. He was a cleric, and eventually he controlled lightning. So it was just like there's a weird type of thing. But yeah, it's such a fun experience.
One of my favorite characters that, unfortunately, it was right around the time that I stopped. I didn't get to do the character as much as I wanted to because I thought it was a great idea. I think his name was Silverskin, and because I'm terrible with coming up with names, but I didn't flesh it out entirely, but he had a mysterious background, but he was very skilled in wild magic, but he could not control it. So every time I would roll wild magic, I could shapeshift into anything from a tiger to a dragon to a stool, or a mind flayer or a fireplace. So there was awesome. I remember fighting up a staircase, and I turned into a kitty cat, and I took so much damage, and I was no help to anybody. But at the same time, the party got into it with like 3 witches or something in a tavern, and I used wild magic, and it turned out to be I think it was like fireball or something like that, and I rolled so heavily that one of the witches, there was 3 of them sitting at the table, one of them completely just burst into flames.
Yes.
The second one was so damaged from the first one bursting into flames that she crumbled to ash, and the third one started to try to run away, and I still had so much power left that I threw the rest of it into the hearth, and that exploded half of the building away, and that disintegrated her. And they're like, well, I guess that interaction's over.
Hey, see, it is tough being the dungeon master. I mean, you could have this whole plan worked out for your party members that you're hoping that they're going to take it. And unfortunately, sometimes they may just make a right turn instead of going straight into the dungeon. And now you got to come up with this whole new side quest.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with what you planned for the entire day. It's fantastic.
It's very evolving. Especially one that you are homebrewing, excuse me, if you're homebrewing, as opposed to something that is already laid out. And I know that everybody is saying like, this is very involved, and I don't know how to even start this. How easy is it, in your opinion, to get started on the game, to learn how the ins and outs and how to get started?
It helps out to have a group or someone who can get you through that. It always helps to have a dungeon master, kind of someone who knows the game already, because a lot of times there's rules and things that you want to do to say like, oh, I want to jump up on top of this building. Well, how tall is the building?
Right.
It's 15 feet up. And so your dungeon master hopefully knows more about the game than you do. So usually it's like getting involved with a group that already has someone who knows the game, and they kind of guide you through the process. But as just a brand new person coming in, you'd have to get a D&D book. I can't remember what it's called right now.
The Player's Handbook.
Thank you.
It just came to me as I looked onto my bookshelf and I saw one.
Thank you. Your Player's Handbook. You have to have your Player's Handbook. But that helps you to learn how to create your character, how to roll your character sheet, enemies, items that you want to purchase, how much gold you get, your healing kit. All your information is inside your Player's Handbook. So it allows for you to kind of build your character and walk yourself through the game. And that'll help you also with creating your villains, your NPCs.
Non-playable characters.
Yes. So that'll help you guys create this entire village or world, city, boat, ship, whatever you want. It gives you so much options, but they kind of have something worked out for every type of scenario that you can come up with, and allows you to create that world inside your head.
So the Player's Handbook will kind of guide you to, especially if you're making your own, like as a DM, if you're making your own world, if you have an idea for a story or something like that, the Player's Handbook will guide you to how to do it correctly. But if you, at home listener, are interested in playing D&D, basically what you need to find is somebody that already knows how to play D&D that can be your DM, or somebody that's looking for extra players for their game or something like that. Because I'm sure everybody that I've ever met that has ever played D&D wants more people to play because it is so much fun. It's kind of like showing somebody a movie that is fantastic to them, and they just want more people to watch it to enjoy it with them. And it's so much more immersive than that. It's even better than that.
So true.
I luckily had my best friend is my DM. Was my DM. We haven't played in a long time. He moved away and I had kids and I just can't play anymore. Unfortunately, I loved D&D so much. I just did not have the time, because right around the time that I started playing, Stephanie was pregnant. So the baby came and I tried to play while Allie was born. It was just very, very difficult, and just time got away from me, and I could not play as much as I wanted to. But I liked playing D&D more than I ever enjoyed playing video games, because it was so much fun to order pizza, drink beers, and have fun with my friends.
Yeah.
And do just the creative ridiculousness of friends. My other best friend, Matt, his very first character, all he wanted to do was collect goblin dicks and wear them in a chain around his neck. And I thought that was just so ridiculous, but it was the funniest thing. And for like several weeks, we played I think it was like every Sunday, we made a thing of it to watch Game of Thrones. And when it was good, Game of Thrones, and then, or actually play D&D and then watch Game of Thrones. Then we would either keep playing or go home. But that was the best time when I first learned and I saw how fun it could be, just having fun with your friends and being creative in this immersive world that you can do whatever you want to within reason of the DM.
Yes. So it makes it great. That's what makes it so great. As you said, a dick necklace for goblins. That is priceless right there.
I remember at one time we were traveling along the road and we heard like some shuffling in the bush, and it turned out to be a goblin. It was part of the story that the DM, I didn't know this until later, but the DM had orchestrated it to be somebody to give you a side quest. And immediately my friend who was collecting the goblin dicks killed him and took his dick. And the DM later on was like, well, I guess you guys won't find the treasure now, you fucking asshole.
How easily the tides can turn on you in a game of D&D. I know we had a chaotic evil game once that we did.
An entire game, chaotic evil?
So the entire group of us had to pick an evil character. You couldn't be like a good character. So the storyline, you go off and you guys have to do basically evil things, because I've been playing with these guys for like 15 years. So we've come up with all different types of games, good games where all your characters have to be good. You can do whatever you want. But this one was just like a game when you were completely evil. And so I remember being this character named Father Tommy. Of course, he was a pedophile, and because you have to have,
I saw that coming a mile away.
Exactly. You have to have a backstory to go with these things. So he was a pedophile, and he used to keep kids in the basement. He had a ward who would help him rape other kids. It was this whole horrible story. But mind you, all the other characters had to be like this, some type of chaotic evil character.
Real quick, were you guys trying to one up each other as far as how evil, like trying to be more evil than? Okay, because I'm like, that's exactly what I would try and do.
Exactly. So everyone was trying to be more evil than the other person. So we would always try to find the most craziest, insane, evil things that you can do. So I remember we were going in to this, it's an orphanage, and we were trying to get this one particular kid because he had like a special power. And so our friend Steve had this ability to make all the kids do this dance, and then they all dropped dead. And so he did that, killed every person inside the room. And then we all, lied, of course, and said we weren't there. And then he got caught by the Inquisition and snitched on us. And then eventually my character got killed because my friend snitched on us. But it was such a great game because we were all just trying to be more evil, more worse than the next person. So it made everything it just gets so ridiculous and so chaotic. And the police were always after us, and someone was always trying to kill us. There was bounty hunters all over trying to take us down. So it just made for such a fun game. And I just love how D&D can be so amazing sometimes.
So Torrell, I want to try something a little new today, between our parenting topic, non-parenting topic, whatever. I want to try something new for the show, and I want to see if our guests like it. If they do, cool. If not, fuck them. But something I do want to try as a parent, because I know that we all have them. Tell me a story. Tell me something that happened to you, or an anecdote, being a parent, being a husband or spouse. But tell me something that stood out to you, something that other people might relate to, might find funny, might think that they went through the same thing. Please have at it if you have one.
Okay. So I think it's something most recently that just happened. My son is 5, and kids are potty trained at this point in time, but they're not efficient at wiping their butts. And so we most recently, Jameson, I'm sorry, buddy. When you get older, hopefully this makes you laugh later on in life. I'm so sorry, son. So, he's starting school. He's going to kindergarten. And one of the primary things is, make sure you know how to wipe your own butt just so you can go to school. So I'm sitting there and I'm showing him, he's finished using the bathroom. And I say, son, he's wiped a couple of times. I'm like, how do you know that you're done? And he goes, what do you mean? I just keep wiping until I run out of toilet paper. I was like, no, bud, that's how you clog a toilet. That's not how you know when you're done. He's like, okay. So, as a dad, I said, you just keep wiping son until you see nothing left on the toilet paper. And he's like, he finally got them. Like, so what do you see? He's like, I see nothing. But before he does that, he goes, but I got to look at it. I was like, it's your butt. It's your poop, bud. You need to make sure it's clean. He's like, do I have to? I was like, dude, this is how we become adults. This is how we become big people. You got to wipe your own butt. This is where it goes down. It's like, all right, fine. So he's sitting there wiping, and he finally gets it good. He's like, that's clean, right, Dad? I'm like, that looks perfectly clean to me. So he then runs out. My parents just happen to be over. And with just like the proudest, joyful moment, he goes to my parents. He goes, hey, guys, I wiped my own butt. And just goes on and get like high five, like he just won an award. And I was just like, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, guys. Thank you very much. Yes, he just wiped his own butt. Thank you. He was so proud.
When he comes out high-fiving everybody saying, I wipe my own butt, I kind of hope like your mom or your dad would say, that's great, buddy. I'm so proud of you. Did you wash your hands?
He did, but they didn't even think about that. He did wash his hands. He was so happy, such a proud moment as a dad.
Oh my goodness.
Geneva, is my princess, my queen, and I love her so much. I know I have a lot of story about Jameson just because Jameson is very rambunctious and he's doing so many things. But Geneva is like my exact clone. And it's so great to deal with her because she's so mischievous and she's so subtle. And she does these things like you wouldn't think anyone to do. But because she's my clone, I know exactly what she's going to do. It's the most amazing thing, and it's the most amazing gift. I pray that every parent has the opportunity to have a kid that is exactly like them, because it allows for you see where their mind is going, and you're just like, yes, you are my child. I can see you are the 2.0 version of me. I see where you're going with this. I see how you're setting your brother up to get in trouble, but I'm going to stop you before you get too far. And it's just great. I think that's like the one thing as a parent, our goal is to teach our kids to be the better, the 2.0 version of ourselves.
Exactly. I think that's very apropos because we know, I don't know how I got here. I know that my parents were phenomenal in bringing me up, and I'm sure a lot of people, like, they're the product of their parents. And
Yes.
what we see in ourselves, the worst parts we see in ourselves, we want to make that better for our kids. And
Yeah.
especially in the beginning, you don't know how to make that happen. You're just trying to survive and maybe give them good experiences, try and teach them the right way, like don't hit people, things like that. But you don't know exactly how to steer them in the right direction of where did I falter as a child and how to like steer them in the right direction. But
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. Like, and I find myself being my father in a lot of ways of when,
Mhm.
especially when it comes to like anger and things like that. And I back off and I said, no, don't do that. Do it how you would want to be taught as a child. Like, remember how you didn't like being yelled at and fix it. Do something different to get the same outcome. So,
Yeah.
I love that, like that you want to make yourself you want to make a clone of yourself, but to do it better.
Yes.
The 2.0 version, like as you said, that's perfect. I love that.
My son thinks he knows everything, but
Don't we all?
don't we all? Exactly right. You know everything, son. He's like, look, Dad, I want to go to school so that I can tell you what I've learned. I'm like, oh well, teach me, son. That is his goal. That is his only reason he wants to go to school right now. He's like 5 days into school. And the only reason he wants to go to school is so that he can teach me to do the things that he's learning in school right now.
Wait, is it teach you or tell you the things that
Tell me. He wants to tell me the things that he knows how to do, but he wants to teach it to me.
I think that's kind of adorable though. Like he wants to go and learn, which is fantastic. Then he wants to take that knowledge and pass it on to somebody else. That might be a teacher in the making, man. That's a
Yeah. Yeah. He's very noble. I don't know where he gets that from, but I know it's not from me.
that is
No.
certainly your wife.
That is certainly either my father-in-law or my wife. My daughter, I know that's my little demon right there. That's my child. Oh, she's such a great girl. She truly has like my heart of caring and loving for people. And but I feel like I know her so well. It's so great. Like Jameson to me is different. It's a whole new thing to learn. Geneva is like a part of me that I know so well that every time I'm around her, it's just so comforting. But she's just like me, and I just love that little girl so much. I know eventually she's gonna break my heart. It's scary.
I'm kind of interested to see where my kids eventually grow up to be because Andrew's obviously too small. He all he does is smile and crawl. I got to tell you, I haven't met all the babies in the world, but
Uh-huh.
if I had to guess, he is probably the happiest baby I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, and I'm so glad he's
Oh,
my son, and I'm pretty sure he's going to take after me. Allie is
yes.
very likely, even though she's very much so a daddy's girl,
Hmm.
she is going to be just like Stephanie.
You
But
never know.
I don't know. I honestly I don't. But from everything that I've seen, I think that she is going to take after Stephanie, but be very close to me. And I think Andrew's going to be the exact opposite. He's going to be very like me, but
Close to
go
Stephanie.
go after mommy.
Oh yeah, it's weird. That boy, that it's such a weird scenario. Father-daughter relationships and mother-son relationship. Jameson was so close to Jessica up until maybe just like last year. Now it's all about, hey, dad, let's this, that, this. But before that, it was all about him being close to Jessica. And it hurt a little bit. It hurt a little bit.
Of course.
Hurt a lot. There's no remorse. I'm sorry. Hurt a lot. But I'll never forget one of the docs was telling me, he's like, it gets better, Torrell. I promise it gets better. He said, before you know it, around like the 4-ish age, he gets interested in dad. And I was so surprised when it finally happened. So that's why, like, right now, it's kind of like this new era, this Jameson era, because it's so new to me. Geneva has been obsessed with dad. Like, for the first 9 months of her life, she slept in my arms. I didn't work. It was just me and her. That was my girl.
Oh.
And I remember taking her to my in-laws' house, and it was just, daddy-daughter time. So it was always great. But she will always be my girl, and I love it. She comes and cuddles and snuggles. That's daddy's girl. But this era right now it's very new for me to have that son who wants to hang out with dad. And when I come home, first thing the door opens, he's like, Dada! And he tells me about his day. And he tells me about all the people he told on in class because they were being rude, which makes me happy. But then I know my son's a snitch.
Yeah.
And so, snitches get stitches. But it's just great to see this evolution of it. He wants to tell me about everything, and he wants to teach me everything. He wants to show me everything. And then he starts trying to tell me about Venom and things like that I'm like, okay, son, I'm the one who told you that story, right? That's okay. I'll let you get it out. It's all right. But it's great.
Do you ever consider the fact that you're going to have to walk Geneva down the aisle one day?
It was my dream in life. This is before Geneva was even born. My favorite movie of all time. My wife will tell you this. It was The Father of the Bride with Steve Martin.
Oh my goodness. You just won so many points with Stephanie.
It was my favorite movie. And before I even got pregnant with my daughter, Geneva, when Jessica got pregnant, I've always wanted a daughter. I've always wanted to be the father of the bride. I've always wanted to have that girl. The character's name was Nina, which was Steve Martin's daughter's. And to this day, I love the movie. And so for me, I've always looked forward to that. I've always wanted it since before she was even born. And the moment that she was born, I remember sitting there and just crying because I had my girl that I've always wanted. I was so excited to see how she's going to grow up and see my little girl. And I just sit there and look at her now, and I just love her so much more and more. And I look forward to the day that actually happens. But I promise, whomever that lucky man is, if he ever hurts her, I swear to God, it will be the day that I go to jail. Because I've loved this girl for so much. I've never loved someone so pure. It's weird, like that father-daughter relationship. It's such a pure love that I can't, which makes it hard for me to think that there are fathers out there who hurt their daughters and do things.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, I love my son, but there's a very, very big difference when it comes to my love for my son and my love for my daughter. They're equal, but they're just different. Like,
yeah.
There's a little bit more of a protective when it comes to my daughter. That the instant she was born, I said, I would burn cities to the ground for you. And not think twice of it.
Oh yeah.
There's just something different between a father and son and a father and daughter. And you're absolutely right. As soon as somebody breaks her heart, they're getting broken legs.
Exactly. Like, I'm willing to go to jail, and I never want to ever go to jail.
No,
I think it's a horrible place, a scary place. But for her, I would go to jail 100 times over.
Easy.
Yeah. So whomever the poor bastard is who falls in love with my daughter, I would treat you like a king. But the second you hurt her, I will be your worst nightmare. I promise you. I promise you.
And not just you, my friend. You have a whole arsenal behind you too to make his
Thank
life
you.
a living hell.
Thank you. I will. I promise.
I hope that he listens to this before he proposes.
Yes. Yes. She's only 7, world. She's only 7. She's got a couple years.
You have at least 28 years before that happens.
Exactly. At least 20 something years. I'm okay with her getting married in her late 20s, early 30s. I'm okay with that. We need to have a long established relationship, but I do want my kids to be close. I want my kids to be close to us.
I will say this. My sister, who is the only girl in our family, our immediate family rather, she is my dad's absolute world. I get it. I understand it. She is the golden child. Easy. Her and my dad are and have been very close for a long time. And I get it. Having my own daughter, I absolutely get it. I was kind of bitter for a little bit, but now I'm like, all right, I get it. Like I was like the third son, so I'm like, you're good. But this is my but no, I get it. And I don't think you have anything to worry about, because I know that Geneva will probably hold the same feeling for you for the rest of her life. So I think you're in good shape.
Oh, I hope so. Because the day that she turns a teenager and starts getting like sassy, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I'm hoping that it's just going to be her and her mother having the issues, and that she will always confide in me. And because I've laid down a solid base of discipline, I don't have to discipline her at that point in time. I'll just do all the good stuff and say, yeah, baby, you want to go out with your girlfriend? Go ahead and go out. Just call me at 10:30, please.
Yeah.
And I'll be here for you. You need me to pick you up? I'll pick you up. I'll do anything you need.
I would love to have an entire show about like where the boundaries start and finish. Like, all right, you're 16. You need to, like, I don't have a 16-year-old, and I've talked to people recently who have girls that are 15, 16 years old. And I have to tell you, man, it is a whole new ball game. And I am so scared about what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
But there's just some things that just make me so nervous, especially in the world that we live in nowadays. It's scary.
Well, I always have to think back to, I think about Jessica, my wife, who is my love, my everything, who is the reason I'm able to be a good father. I think about stories about when she was telling me when she was, a teenager and then going into college, how her parents, I hope they're not listening, used to be so strict on her and would permit her from doing things. So hopefully no one's listening that's in her family immediately. She used to sneak out. And I don't want my daughter to have to do that. I want us to have an open relationship. And I've always told her, I was like, look, if you're honest with me, I will never punish you. If you're honest with me, you tell me the truth, you're never going to get in trouble. If you want to do something and it's wholeheartedly you being honest with me, I will find a way to make it work. But just be honest with me.
Yeah.
If you're going to go out and party, okay, be responsible, please. If you need someone to pick you up, there's now, thank God for Uber. And even then, I will come get you. I don't care what time of day it is. But just be open with me, and we can have that relationship that sometimes I'm going to tell you no just because I need to tell you no to make some boundaries. But majority of times, as long as you're safe and careful and you show me that you can be safe and careful, I'm always say yes to you.
So that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to our show tonight. Thank you very much for our guest, my Lord Torrell Smith. Thank you so much for being my guest tonight. Honestly, I've been looking very much so to having you on the show. You have been an inspiration to me for several years. Torrell, there is one thing that I would like to do for all my guests. I'm going to give you the opportunity to say any last words. So Torrell, have at it.
I'd like to say thank you very much for having me on. Freddie, I love you. You're awesome. You and Stephanie has just been amazing. And I have to give a huge thank you to my wife because without her, I wouldn't be half the dad or husband that I could be without her. She's just an amazing person. Jessica, you are my love, my life, my rock, my strength, and I'm thankful for having you.
There is no good man without a good wife
Yes.
or partner, if we're going to be progressive. But for you and me, sir, tonight's episode is for our wives, Jessica and Stephanie. Thank you, ladies.
Yes, cheers to them.
Cheers to them. Good night, everybody.